Yeah.
All right, welcome anyone who's interested in listening to a little podcast where my brother and I will be discussing some philosophy questions from a Stanford Philosophy 101 class. This is a test that they give out. It's dated September 2016, so I don't know if it's, we'll see how the questions are. We're probably not going to get through all 24 pages, maybe just one, I don't know, we'll see.
Oh, we have 2 hours.
We do, but maybe not on the SD card. Anyway, so one thing to keep in mind is we usually speak Dutch to each other. So if there's ever a word or two or we accidentally interrupt ourselves in Dutch, that may happen.
But I realized it's awkward to speak Dutch to each other, but now I'm speaking to the video, and it makes it
English.
less awkward.
You mean English. It's awkward to speak English to each other.
It is.
But since we're talking to a camera, it feels less awkward, but we also want this conversation to feel like a conversation between the two of us. And
that might be another philosophical topic. Why is it awkward to speak English to each other?
Because we're not used to it.
Because we're not used to it. Okay, I think we can start with the questions.
Okay. If there is a God, they will look benevolently upon atheists. Discuss. That's a quote. So do you think, if there is a God, do you think that this God thinks atheists are good, looks benevolently at them? Because theoretically, according to most religions, God is all benevolent, all knowing, all perfect. So does that mean he loves all people, sinners and not sinners alike?
Because
does he look
free will?
Exactly. Does he look benevolently at people who refuse or do not accept him as being true?
I think what God cares about is about people's intentions. So if people have bad intentions, he'll look down on them.
Yeah.
If people have good intentions, they'll look up on, he'll appreciate them. So if you're atheist because you doubt whether a God exists or not, but your intentions are good, then I don't think
I agree.
He looks down on that.
I agree. If there is a God, then the God would, and he's also all benevolent, all perfect, all good, all knowing, then the intentions is what matters, because he knows your intentions.
Yeah, and your limitations and your perception.
Exactly. So if you don't know or you don't believe in him
because you don't know,
or because you're still doing the right thing but you grew up learning something else, then I think you're still looked benevolently upon.
You can't know anything different.
Also, Stanford questions, so I'm gonna mispronounce a lot of things.
Okay.
I can't read so perfectly. Ooh, I like this question. This is the next question. Are you ready for the next question?
Go for the next question.
Is disability primarily a social phenomenon? And I believe it is. I think disability only exists because we don't have a world that can accommodate, because we make the world for the average person, because that's how we have to. But I think once we can develop a world, which I think slowly is what the world is going towards with AI, with different things, slowly we'll get to a world where it works perfectly for anyone. There is no such thing as disability, because everyone can live their life exactly how they were born to.
But there are extreme cases where someone clearly is disabled. Do you think that's a social phenomenon?
I mean, if it's something like literally being brain dead, then that might even not. I mean, then there's the whole argument. Is that considered?
There's no other people in the world to compare what not brain dead means, then maybe that's the most able person in the world. So in a way, it's comparing yourself to other people, how you can tell if you're able or disabled. But
So actually, yeah. So
there is an extent, there's a certain level of disability where clearly you need help from other people. Some people,
but still,
need
that
help
is based.
standing up.
That is based on our social construct. That's not something objectively. That is not necessarily the case. But
But objectively speaking,
compared to the norm, statistically, some people are different and might need more help to function in a society where all of those functions are necessary. But once we're able to develop a world and a virtual reality or something, some kind of machine that someone who's brain dead can live out their life, then I think that is just as much of a life as anyone else.
But
And it doesn't make them
change
disabled.
life? What's life then, if you can simulate life?
That's a very good question. What do you think life is?
Life is an experience.
Yes, but you can also experience that through a simulation. That's still life.
In a way, it is.
Here's a
Yeah.
wait. This will go away from the philosophy, but this is what kind of question is it? It's something with psychology. I don't know. But would you take the ability to live life through a simulation that is 100% the same experience to you on a computer? I mean, simulated as it is in real life, and you can do anything. But once you step into the simulation, you can't get out.
No.
So you cannot tell the difference, except in the simulation, you are able to, I want to fly a private jet right now, I can do that. I want to do this, I can do that now. But there is no noticeable difference. Would you take that chance?
When you play a video game like GTA and you're in creative mode or sandbox mode where you can do anything you want, at some point the video game becomes boring.
But we're talking about something where you are experiencing it as life. You're not experiencing it as a game.
But
So you can.
what's the difference between a game and life?
You can still simulate the real life, like going to work, doing things like that if you want to.
But would you want to? Doesn't everyone hate work?
Well, if life gets boring, then maybe that's what makes it interesting. And if you figure that out, then you'll do the work. If you don't feel like that's the case, then you can decide otherwise.
It's interesting because in a way our choices dictate our life, just like it would in a video game. So do you even really need to invent a simulation?
The difference with a simulation is, theoretically, if you're, I don't know, if you've lost your arm and both arms, and you really want to do archery, this simulation can give you the exact experience of whatever life you want. So kind of like Ready Player One, except you become the inside the world. You become what it is, and you do everything the same, except you have to come to the acceptance with the fact that you're in a simulation and not real life, because that is definitely something that.
Would you at some point forget that you're in a simulation?
That's a good question. We could argue. We could see both. What if you would forget? Would you do it? Or if you wouldn't forget, would you do it? Does it change anything?
Is it possible that that's the case right now?
That we're in a simulation and we've forgotten?
Yeah.
Of course.
So, okay, hypothetically speaking, we're not in a simulation, but we're about to enter one that looks just like this world.
Yes, I think
What would be different?
if you theoretically had children and everything in the simulation, like real children somehow, and they have their own conscious thought and everything, then I think through generations, of course, it'll be forgotten.
Well,
It'll become the reality.
What does generations mean? Because your children are simulated. So
Well-
technically, once you die in your simulation, then the game is over, and everyone can pick their own starting scene,
is
and
true.
everyone picks their own
That is true.
things. So it's just your perception of reality that makes your reality real.
I think the biggest difference is, well, then we also get to that, is I was thinking that the biggest thing that makes us human is the fact that we can communicate and that we share our experiences and values and everything. And once you get in your own simulated world,
Then you become isolated.
you're detracted from other people, unless for some reason two people want the same thing and you decide to be together. But I think there will be a lot of selfishness and decisions of, I want to do this, you want to do this.
Yeah, because you might as well just simulate the person to do everything you want. To be exactly the person you want to. Yeah. Like why would you deal with hard things when
So then you would simulate the friends that you want, the people that you want
yeah.
in your life, but then you don't have anything to contrast the perfect things.
If
to
you
make
had
it
everything
enjoyable.
you want, would you be happy?
Probably not.
So what makes you happy?
The contrast between the good things and the bad things.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes you realize the happiness, at least. What makes me happy? Probably the ability to communicate with other people. It's just being.
But
with
do you
other
have to
people.
experience negative things to feel like the positive things are positive?
I think so.
Or is happiness an action, not a destination?
It is part of the journey. What do you mean? I definitely think it's the journey and not a destination. You shouldn't think I'm gonna do all these things to eventually be happy.
Yeah.
No, you should live in a way that makes you happy in the moment.
Yeah, maybe.
But I
full
don't think
freedom
you
makes
can experience that happiness without having things that also contrast against it.
I don't think it's because you need contrast. I think it's because it's unsustainable to live with full freedom, because you need a trade. It's a trade. You need to give so you can take. So you
But
need to give
in a
9 to
theoretical-
5. You
in a-
need to give work, effort, so you can receive freedom.
So you can feel like you accomplished it and like you.
Not so you can accomplish it, but because if no one gave and everyone was 100%
but
free, we would be
no,
running around in
okay.
the wild and.
But
in
we're talking about
woods.
theoretically, if we could live in a world where we don't have to give anything to get what we want. Okay, if we live
Yeah.
in a future or in a simulation where everything can be exactly how we want it, would you experience happiness?
I think the reason you can't experience happiness then is because you're just getting and getting. You're spoiled. It's like the universe is spoiling you, and
Well, I
no
think-
one that's spoiled is actually happy.
I think the reason is because you don't have anything to contrast it, first of all. And second of all, also a lot of people get their sense of happiness and pride or like those good positive emotions through accomplishment. So I think what you're saying
But
with
that's
that,
ego. I don't think that's real happiness.
that's not ego.
I think that's ego. I think it's because they want to prove themselves to other people.
But if
It's
that
actually-
makes them happy, then that makes them happy.
it doesn't make them happy. It makes them proud.
But that's also a positive emotion.
It's a fake. It's a false positive. I think it's not genuine happiness.
It's a different emotion. Pride and happiness is separate emotion.
Yeah.
So you can't replace happiness with pride.
No, because
But it is an
pride
emotion that
doesn't-
is important for a lot of people.
Pride means you feel better than other people.
Not necessarily.
You have to.
You don't have to feel better than other people to feel proud. You can feel
Okay, there's two different
individually
types of pride.
proud.
Yeah, you can feel satisfied with yourself,
Exactly.
and then you're proud.
And I think putting in hard work makes you feel proud for the result you get. And that
Maybe
makes
that's
you,
happy.
and that
Yeah.
that can also give you happiness and also pride.
Yeah, because when you just get, then you don't feel like you deserve it. Maybe surface level, sometimes you do feel like you deserve it. You're born in the right family, or you I don't know, you just have a reason to justify why you deserve more than others. But deep down, I feel like it's like the imposter syndrome. Like, do I really deserve it? And that's a feeling of like emptiness, right?
Yeah.
When you feel like you've made a fair trade with the universe. I sacrificed hard work, I sacrificed this and that to get something in return.
It feels more real. It
That's
feels
satisfaction.
genuine.
Then you feel like, yeah, you've made a fair trade. You didn't cheat.
So that's
the
why
system.
I think you need to work to, I mean, you need that is one thing that contributes to happiness. And I also think you can recognize the happiness if you also experience something to contrast it. You can't, if you were able to only experience happiness, it would be very bland.
Yeah. You need to sacrifice something to get something in return.
And to feel that something in return, to feel the difference.
And you genuinely know if it's a fair trade. If it's an unfair trade, you cheated the universe, then you know. Deep down, somehow you know that you cheated the universe.
Let's go to the next question.
Okay.
Is the principle of bivalence incompatible with free action? Do you know what bivalence is?
Yeah, wait.
Hey Siri Plus. Explain to a 5-year-old what bivalence means. I'm a 5-year-old now. Come on. Maybe it stopped working after GPT-4. Hey Siri. Give me the definition of bivalence. Not divlin. Bivalence. The existence of only two states. So true and false. The existence of ones and zero, basically. Just, it is either yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
So is the principle of bivalence incompatible with free action?
With free action.
So free will, free action. Can something be 100% right and wrong and still also you have free will? Right and wrong, yes or no, like black and white. If the world is black and white, is there still free will?
I think if it's 100% black and white, then no. Because, I mean, you still have the freedom
to choose one or the other.
You have the freedom to
do what's right, what's wrong.
What's exactly wrong. But if your actions are 100% determined for you,
but how are they determined then?
Because you know exactly what you should or shouldn't do.
Well, what I mean, it doesn't necessarily say it's clear that one thing is right and one thing is wrong. There's still people. There is a right and wrong, or yes and no, or whatever and whatever. But it doesn't mean that you, from your perspective, you know this is the right choice, this is the wrong choice. I think that's what it means. Because
so
then everyone will make the right choice.
Yeah, that everyone should make the right choice, or else they get punished. They should do exactly this in this way, otherwise they get punished.
This reminds me of another question. I mean, if you continue.
Yeah. I think that removes free will. You still have the free will to do wrong, but then you don't really have the choice, because otherwise you get punished. Right now in society, we know what's right and wrong. Wrong is not following the laws, right is following the laws. Okay.
But
And then
people
there's
still make
also
the choice to do
morally
the-
right and wrong. But there's a lot of gray area. If there's no more gray area, because the gray area is the area of free will. That's your own interpretation of what's right and wrong.
Mhm.
That's the ability to have your own interpretation of right and wrong. That's what free will is.
Yeah. I'm trying to find.
And if you don't have that gray area, if it's all determined for you, then you don't have the free will to choose what you think is right and wrong.
Yeah, I agree. This is a paradox in philosophy for the concept of free will. The idea is called Buridan's ass, his donkey.
Mhm.
Okay. Let's see if I can find the actual. Okay, it's a hypothetical situation wherein a donkey that is equally hungry and thirsty is placed precisely midway between a stack of hay and pail of water. Since the paradox assumes the donkey will always go to whichever is closer, it dies of both hunger and thirst, since it cannot make a rational decision between the hay and water. Okay, so the question is, do you think it would be able to make a decision?
I would be able to make a decision.
Well, of course, because this donkey has to go to what's closer.
If none of them is closer, then yeah, it's gonna die.
Because they're both the same. Let me find it. This is not the best written. This is Wikipedia. I don't like how they wrote it. Let's see if I can find a better explanation. Let me ask ChatGPT. Okay, we can start the next question while I look this up. Can there be vague objects?
Vague objects? What does that mean?
I don't know. Can there be objects that are not exactly something? I don't know.
What's an object?
A physical item, I guess. Something we can physically.
I mean, everything is vague. Your phone is actually a box of glass, some silicon.
Yeah, but it's an exact item.
And yeah, but if you really look at what the components are, then it's not a phone until you decide it's a phone.
Well, of course, but it's still glass.
If your phone is
it's
out
still
of battery,
silicone. It's still lithium. It's all these elements put together. It doesn't matter.
If your phone is out of battery, then it's not really a phone.
So, I'm thinking more of the chemical compounds or whatever, rather than the social construct of the object.
Okay.
Those are two different things. So I do think if you consider the social construct of an object, then yeah, there's probably vague objects. But chemically speaking, it is a chemical composition of different elements.
Mm-hmm.
Paradox to me. Okay, let's see what GPT says. Imagine a hungry ass who is placed equidistant between two identical bales of hay. The ass is equally hungry and equally thirsty, and the two bales of hay are equally attractive to it. In such situation, the ass would be unable to decide which bale of hay to move towards and eat. According to Buridan, the ass would be stuck in a state of indecision and would ultimately die of hunger and thirst. The paradox arises because the situation seems to imply that the ass has no reason to choose one bale of hay over the other, since both bales are identical and there is no rational basis for the ass to prefer one over the other. However, the ass still needs to make a decision, or else it will suffer the consequences.
Yeah. I think people think too much. It's not necessarily a paradox. but I think
Well, this is a hypothetical situation where it is a paradox. Of course, if
Yeah.
I think
if the
you
ass
put a
can't do
donkey
anything-
in between two hay bales, it will go to one or the other, exactly in between.
yeah.
Okay, but this is a hypothetical situation.
If you're programmed exactly to choose the closest one and there's two that are equally close, then there is no closest one. Makes sense. But in a more realistic scenario, a lot of people,
I think a lot of conscious beings would be able to make the realization that it's better to make a choice than not a choice.
yeah, a lot of people, they're stuck in indecision because they want to get somewhere, but they don't know where they want to end up, and because they don't have a very clear picture of that, they end up not doing anything. And it's more important, like the first step is 50% of the work, so it's more important to just take the first step and then get somewhere. It's more important to get somewhere and fail and then get somewhere else than find the perfect path.
That's something a lot of aspiring YouTubers struggle with.
Yeah.
Because they think, oh, I need the perfect camera, or I need this, or I need that. I don't know what I want to film. I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah.
But the best way is to just start, and it'll develop on the way. You'll fail. You'll do some things you're absolutely happy with. Some things will go viral. Some things.
Yeah, not just
Go
also
terribly.
don't just limit yourself to YouTube. Like, yeah, maybe you have some music talent, you have video talent, and you have other talent. Don't pick one and just hyper focus on that.
The camera decided to stop recording and start again for some reason, but it seems like the other video is still there. Anyway, what were we saying? Oh yeah, so this does bring up...
Think less, do more.
Yeah, I think what you're saying with that paradox is it's relatable to a thing that people struggle with in real life a lot, which is
Yeah, they don't know what
being
direction to
stuck.
go, so they don't go anywhere.
Yeah, being stuck
But it's
in
better to just
indecision.
go any direction and then figure it out from there.
Exactly. And I think when it comes to something that's so fundamental to survival, humans and many conscious beings.
Money is fundamental to survival. So
But
people don't know where to go to make some money.
Not directly.
Quite
That's
directly.
indirectly.
If you don't have money, you can't buy food, you can't buy a house, you
Yes,
can't buy
but
anything
You
that's
can't do
fundamental.
something else, so it's not a direct need. It's an indirect need.
Yeah.
The direct need is food, shelter, and water. And I think if it comes to any direct needs, humans would not be stuck in indecision. But since it's an indirect need, it is harder to make the choice because it is not as...
Everything's an indirect need until you need it.
I disagree. You always... Humans, most conscious beings, most animals need water, food.
Yeah. So you need food when you're hungry. Most people.
You need money to fulfill that need, to fulfill the food and to fulfill the water and to fulfill the shelter. You don't need money for anything else. You
No.
need food to live, for your body.
Mhm.
You need water for your body. You need shelter for your safety.
Yeah. And the only way to get those is if you have money.
Not necessarily. You can go in a people have figured it out before the system of money. So that is not true. It is an indirect need, and that is
True. Money is a made up need.
exactly. So I don't think that is something. I
Money
think
is-
that's why it's harder for people to consider that.
I think they
Or
took all
it's-
the needs, all these direct needs that people have, and they just packed them together into a new system called money. And now the only
Yeah,
thing you have to
those-
focus on, then you only have one thing to focus on.
Well, so yeah, money is needed for those needs, but then anything above that is not a need.
Yeah. Create a problem so you can offer a solution.
Exactly. That's how capitalism works.
Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, you want to do one more?
Okay.
Let's see. Let me see if this. Oh, we'll just go with one of the next ones. Is it possible to define truth?
I think there's a very fundamental truth, and everything else is built off of it.
What do you mean by that?
I think there is a very, very, very fun. If you break anything down, it always breaks down to one very fundamental truth. I don't know exactly what it is, but I think there is one fundamental truth, and the rest is just, it's like assumptions on top of assumptions on top of, so it's the rest is just something that any other truth or any other thing you can invent stems from a very fundamental truth.
I think
the answer is no, but there is one very fundamental truth
is very relative.
Truth is very relative, but there's one truth that's not.
I don't know.
There's one truth that's not.
I don't know.
Otherwise, there's no consistency in the universe.
Well, I do think relative to our perspective, our experience of the universe, we can make truths that make consistency throughout the universe, that apply to us and to what we experience.
Yeah.
And
but
that'll
those
work.
aren't
That's
truths.
science.
Those
That's
aren't
science.
truths. Those are observations.
Yeah, so I don't think you need a universal truth or whatever to be able to have an agreement and
to be able to have life. I think there has to be one very fundamental truth. Just one very fundamental truth. I don't know what it is, but there has to be one fundamental truth. Otherwise, nothing is real. And I think a lot of things aren't real, but there is something that is real. And I don't know what it is, but it has to be so fundamental that it has to agree with everything.
I think everything is real through your experience.
Through your experience, but then what is real? It's not what you're experiencing, but your experience is real. So maybe that's truth. It's the ability for things to experience something, or there has to be one fundamental truth, and then the rest is just a perception of that fundamental truth. But there has to be the fundamental truth. Otherwise, nothing is real.
There definitely could be, but I don't think necessarily there has to be. But I can see what you mean. I can see why you would say so.
Do you think things are real? Do you think you are real? Do you think your experience is real?
Yes. But that is only important
That's only important to you.
To my life and to the short period I live. I can experience consciousness. Sure, maybe consciousness is the one truth.
Yeah.
But
a universal consciousness.
I don't know about that. Maybe.
So we're made up of atoms and chemicals, just like everything else.
Yes.
So in reality, there's no difference between us and a mountain, or us and I don't know, water or anything. There's no difference between anything.
Yes.
Except I feel a little different than a mountain.
Because we have consciousness.
Yeah, maybe a mountain is also conscious in another way. But I think
Did you see Everything Everywhere All at Once? Have you seen the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once?
I haven't.
Two people become rocks.
Yeah.
And they're conscious. Continue.
But so we're made up of everything that the rest of the universe is also made up of.
Yeah, same elements.
But we're also living in the universe. So we're experiencing the universe. But we're made up of the universe. So we're basically the universe experiencing itself. And we're obsessed.
We are not the whole universe. We are a few elements in a big universe.
Yeah, but
there's a big difference.
But
we're not the universe experiencing the universe within the universe. No, we are elements that make up the universe.
Experiencing the universe.
That can interpret what's happening and have consciousness. Yes.
We're a part of the universe, but we're experiencing the rest of the universe.
Yeah. Well,
so we're the universe within the universe, and
sure. And it's like saying
what's interesting is we're very obsessed as humans always with finding out more about the universe.
Yeah.
we're obsessed with science, we're obsessed with physics, we want to understand why things happen, why things move. So we're basically, we are the universe trying to understand itself.
Sure.
And that's interesting. Because...
So do you think if an AI is trying to, knows how it's built, that it is...
But the AI is also made up of universal materials.
Of course. Everything we can see, everything we can experience is inside the universe.
Yeah.
As far as we know, we cannot get out of the universe. As far as our current
But what is our
perspective
Yeah.
and truth, our relative truth of the universe is we can't get out of the universe.
Hypothetically, if we could get out of the universe, there would have to be another universe that this universe is within.
I mean,
So we would
just
still be within the universe.
or it's just something we just cannot comprehend as humans.
Or the universe
It
is
is
just bigger than we
incomprehensible.
think in that case, because it's still then it's the universe within a bigger universe that we're within.
A different dimension, or something incomprehensible to us at this moment. All we can imagine, all we can comprehend with our brains is there has to be space, some kind of universe, some kind of space outside of the universe, because the universe is expanding, and it can't expand in nothingness. Like, how does that work? How does it just create, or how, like, nothing can be created or destroyed? How does the universe become more or less?
Well, we think it's expanding based on a couple years of observations.
Based on our relative truth and our observations of the past, and our observations of the past hundreds of years, we can...
Hundreds of years or tens of years?
Hundreds of years.
Okay, hundreds of years. So based on hundreds of years of...
I'm saying based on hundreds of years of observations...
Yeah, based on hundreds of years of observations, we're making assumptions for billions of years.
Yeah, and then observations of things that fossils, different things that would not have changed over time.
That we assume wouldn't have changed over time. Because once again,
because everything,
it's hundreds of years of observations where we're assuming...
Truth, like we said.
Yeah, but we're assuming billions of years of data based off of hundreds of years of observation.
Yeah, based on what... Yeah, of course.
That's a very big assumption. There's a very big margin of error.
At that point...
It's like the butterfly effect in reverse.
Thousands of years of observations, because...
But if your data is off by 0.0001, your assumptions for billions of years are completely different. It's the reverse butterfly effect.
Of course. We will always learn more, and we will always realize that we know nothing. We know everything.
We're too arrogant as humans.
I don't think we're too.
Everything.
I don't think we know. We think we know things. We're always trying to learn, which is perfect.
Yeah.
I don't think we're arrogant as humans. We're trying to learn. But this is the relative truth we have now. If we always say, "Oh, we don't know. There's no truth. We can't figure out what the reality is," then we'll always live in a fear of the unknown, in a state of insecurity.
That's true.
What is the world? What can we do? What is our purpose? What is what? If we can say with certainty what we know, but still be open to learning new things, I think that's the most important thing.
But it's also dangerous because of a fear of unknown to then assume that you know everything. Because...
Well, so that's what I'm saying. I think humans do it, relatively speaking. Of course, humans are very diverse and they're very different. But relatively speaking, on a greater scale, I think humans are very, very open-minded and willing to accept that reality is not necessarily how it is. Very specific people often no, not at all. But the overall outside perspective of humanity, I think humans have always been very adaptable and willing to learn new things and accept that the truth wasn't the truth. The accepted truth was not the full story or was incorrect.
But let me do I brought out the calculator. I want to do a calculation. So let's assume we start with one fundamental truth that we know is true. Okay? we know, I don't know, we know how atoms interact. We know some fundamental truth.
I don't know if we can ever know a fundamental truth.
Well, let's assume we do. Let's assume we're right about some sort of fundamental truth. But then based on that truth, we make an assumption, okay? But the assumption is 99% probable to be right, okay?
Probably, you could probably go further than that and it'll still be a big number, but like 99.99.
99% correct assumption.
Okay.
We can assume that assumption is right, okay? And then based on that assumption, we make another assumption, also 99% to be right. Based on that assumption, we make another assumption, a third assumption, 99% we're sure is right. And then we make a fourth assumption, 99% correct.
Can't you just...
And then we make a fifth. With 5 assumptions, with 99% probability, our probability of being correct in the end is just 95% now. So our 99%, which you can basically assume is true, now we ended up at a scenario that's 95% correct. So let's bring it down a little bit. Now, I think what percentage would you say you would accept something as true? What assumption? If you're making an assumption, how much percent?
I think most of our assumptions about the universe that we consider the truth, the laws, the whatever, are more than 99% correct. But of course, billions of assumptions are made off of that. So off of multiple different things that are all different, 99.9. So it is still relatively.
But let's see. I just want to see 90%.
Yes, I know what you mean.
So 90%.
You can just
times 90%.
You can just put it to the 5th power or something.
Times 90%. Times 90%. So if we make 5 assumptions that are 90% correct, I'm 90% sure I'm right about this, and I'm making assumptions off of the assumptions that I'm 90% I'm right about, then I end up at a 60% truth. 60%.
Yeah.
And 90% sounds very true. I'm pretty sure I'm right about that.
Yeah, but we don't base scientific things based on what sounds pretty true to someone.
A lot of maybe not what you learn in school, not the laws, but a lot of the things we know right now are based off of assumptions that are based off of assumptions.
There are a lot of things that we're considering and experimenting with that are definitely a lot of quantum physics and things like that are very much in that stage of it could be 50% wrong in the end. But I think what we've done with paleontology and with dating rocks and stuff is much higher percentage, but still...
How do we know for sure that it's a billion years old?
But still, because we can...
Because we saw that it decays at a certain rate within 10 years.
Because we know...
So we assume it's consistent for the rest of the universe.
Because we know the half-lives of different elements, and we've seen how, based on the 100 years of
data, we're assuming billions of years of data
of radioactive decay. We can predict with a certain degree of accuracy, which we can predict with a certain degree of accuracy a time period for that. Another thing, for example, is we theoretically, with a pretty high degree certainty of accuracy based on our relative truth, know what the universe looked like at 100,000 years, because we can see the shift between the red ray. I think microwave. I don't know what kind of radiation. Some kind of radiation. We can see the shift between, because blue waves are faster and red waves are, or like different waves are. We can see this is how it's changed, and we can therefore predict with a certain degree of accuracy based on our observations. Of course, everything is based on our observations of the world, so it's not
But recently
a
they did find a
objective
new, a massive galaxy that shouldn't have existed. They shouldn't have been that
Of course.
big.
But the good thing is what I'm saying is humans are very adaptable and are like, huh, that doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
but it's true.
But
So I
then-
guess let's figure it out.
But then somehow
They don't
a lot
just-
of new discoveries go against the fundamental truths that we believed in.
Of course, and that's good. That's very good. That means we're learning.
That means what we thought our fundamental truths was actually wrong.
But that's
so we
the-
should
but if-
cling on to those truths a little less.
We hang on those truths because that's the only way we can live life. But it is important to be able to accept when something is incorrect, and I think people do that very well. So I don't think we need to change much in that sense. I think on an individual level, on a more micro spectrum or whatever, micro area, we need to focus more on individual people being more open-minded and understanding.
Yeah. That's true.
But I think collectively as humans, in the end, with people who are extremely open-minded and don't trust anything, and people who are very rigid and believe what they believe, collectively we're very good at learning and accepting when
Yeah.
something is incorrect or
That's why it's good to have degrees of extremities and people's opinions. That's why you need a gray area, because then the average becomes more real. So free will actually creates a better
more accurate representation of what's
Yeah.
happening
of
Yes.
reality.
of reality. Because then one person who is very rigid and doesn't want to change anything, and then the other that's like, oh, nothing works, everything is incorrect, then one person can check a theory that someone in the gray area, both can check it and try to prove it wrong, spend their entire life's work proving something wrong, and then we can only know with a higher degree certainty or lower degree certainty that's true based on the results. Because then someone can be so passionate about how they disagree with something that they will end up either strengthening the belief or actually help dismantle it. And then there's someone else who will be able to flip-flop, and then on average we will get what hopefully is the truth, or at least the relative truth on how we experience life.
Yeah.
All right, you think that's good for maybe the first, maybe there's another one at some point in ever, I don't know. The first philosophy discussion or just world discussions, depends.
I think we covered some interesting topics.
Yeah.
It can actually be a thing.
I mean, I do think it's pretty cool.
People comment questions.
Because last time I went skiing with my friend, we did the same kind of thing, except we did paradoxes, not philosophical questions. And that was one of the paradoxes. But again, I think the way the original one was phrased was much better than this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty. Also specifically during road trips, because you have nothing to do for hours.
True.
So it is pretty cool to just record those conversations and maybe look at it another time. Let the world see. Let the world know some thoughts.
Yeah.
All right.
And you can have some cool questions from people that way.
Exactly. Okay. I guess that's it.
Bye.
Bye.